Sometimes, even the best, put a hole in the liner and then we have to patch it. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Under your cute little tent?
Yeah, I managed to scrape a big boulder against the side of this shelf and I put a hole in it. So now I'm fixing it. Beach, why'd you have to get the camera out? Go away.
People like when you screw up. It makes their day.
No, you guys are all mean. I'm gonna go back to bed.
What you doing?
Oh, I'm thinking like the water. Well, here's what I think the water would do if the water was cool, which we know it is. So, we were building pond, DJ and I, and then we just couldn't help it anymore. We had to go build waterfalls. We were like, that's it, let's finish the pond another day, let's build these waterfalls. I have the first one here, and what I'm thinking, I like to have water recessed because it looks natural. Water chewed its way back through there over time. So I'm gonna have a big spillway back here, but I'm gonna have it the same height as this. So this is also all gonna be spillway. One of the challenges with a recessed waterfall is sometimes you can build a super cool waterfall that you can't even see. It's just not cool. So I'm gonna put half of it back here. You're gonna be able to see it, but it is gonna be a little bit obstructed. It's gonna create a little bit of mystery. And then a large portion of the water is gonna come out here. I'm gonna knock this point out and we'll have a little jet of water coming this way. See that cool little channel right there once I knock that out. And so I'm gonna have water spilling back here, this hike, off the front here, and then a real deep one all the way down in there. So I'm gonna have recessed, natural, eaten back, chewed off, eroded look back here, and then this is gonna be highly visible. Main focal points for here is that deck up there, or whatever, that seating area, and the patio that's down there where you see the green grass right now. Patio is gonna go in there. So that's our vision for this one. Should be pretty cool. You want a mud ball?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well then, get in your excavator. Whoops, sorry.
Fine.
Didn't mean to hit you in
Fine.
the eye. End of day 2. I'm happy with what we got done. We made decent progress considering very difficult working conditions. Rain and mud, which is the standard, what do you call it?
April weather?
Yeah, April.
Work environment?
Yeah, standard work environment. That's the one I'm looking for. That's the kind of weather we wait till we have to build ponds. Once we have that, we'll start building ponds. Anyways, this pond looks enormous still. It's gonna be big. We worked in some very tall boulders. It's gonna have a lot of deep spots of water that'll keep those raccoons out of the fish, hopefully. We're at a very good spot tomorrow to finish out the pond, and we should be getting into setting that aluminum plate tomorrow. As you can see, we worked on this side of the pond. Tomorrow we'll bring our machine down here and start working here. We're gonna have to bring more boulders. It takes a tons of rocks to do this. Okay, see you guys in the morning. Hopefully we'll have some sunshine and some exciting times building this overhang. See you in the morning. That's about all the machine can handle right there. That rock right there is going to be one of the pillars that's going to hold our aluminum plate in place. There we Welcome to the sunshine job now. This is so much better. So much better than all the rain we had yesterday. And we're making good progress. We got all this rocked in this morning. Right now I'm doing some trial and error with this plate. I set this boulder and we're moving this thing in and standing back and looking at it. Where do we want it? Where do we need to set rocks? What height? Well, we know what height. This is patio height, so we already have that determined. I just set this one and I'm thinking I'm gonna slide it back in the bank a little bit further and I'll cut this chunk of the boulder out and we'll slide this thing down and let it rest on the spot that I cut out. And I might take that same chunk and fit it to the top. So we'll kind of create a sandwich with this piece. And then over here, that's where my next pillar boulder, support boulder is gonna go. And it looks like I just don't really have the room for it in there. I'm going to excavate out a little bit more dirt here so I have more room to set the boulder where I need to make it look good. All right, Deej, swing out this plate and we'll start playing with some more boulders. Hey, good Monday morning to you. We're kicking off the week with some beautiful weather. It was sunny all weekend, warm, and it dried this slop up around here. And if it doesn't rain tomorrow, which there's a chance of that, it looks like we're gonna have a really nice rest of the week, which is a relief because I'm tired of mud. Kicking things off right here where we stopped on Friday. We're getting ready to set that big plate in here. I have this excavated out. I'm gonna come in on this grade and put 3 inches of clean stone down so we can level out a nice smooth pad to set that plate. The corners of the plate are gonna sit here on these boulders that we notched out. So that's gonna come right back here and set right in there. Once I have this setting the way that I want and it's perfectly level and I know all I need to do is swing it in and set it, I'll take it out and we'll set a row of boulders along this back side here to hide the liner. So we're getting ready for now, just putting in that clean stone. Okay, so last week when we did the excavation, I talked about how we dig in shelves, up to 3 shelves, and I think about where I want deep spots and where I don't want deep spots. And I'm going to talk about why we do that and how we rock in ponds once we come to do that. The biggest thing for the shelf is to give yourself level spots to set boulders that are going to stay there forever. And what we're doing when we're setting these is we're looking at our shelves and making sure that we're high enough so that I can put gravel on that shelf and it's not going to erode and eventually show liner. So that's one very important thing when you're rocking in your shelves, to make sure that your rock is high enough to retain the gravel behind it. So right here is a shelf where I haven't set anything yet. If my boulder is only this high, I might be able to cover this up with gravel, but 2 years later it's going to run off, and we see this a lot when we do pond cleanouts. People that don't use high enough boulders, the gravel is going to run off and expose that black liner. So when I set a rock here, this might be 14 inches, so I want to get a rock that's like 16 inches high, like this one, so that when I set gravel on here, it's not going to run down here and expose that liner. Other than that, we just kind of tried to make the rocks set level and not rock so that they're sturdy when you walk on them. We don't like long straight lines of boulders. We try to get some character facing out and some irregularities and put in fish caves where we can. So rocking in a pond isn't very difficult. It's a pretty simple process if you follow a couple rules, and it usually goes in pretty quickly. One thing I will say is if you're rocking in a pond by hand and you can't move these giant boulders, you'll have to have shorter shelves. We're digging 14 and 16 inch shelves. If it's small rock, you're going to be using 6 and 8 inch shelves so that you can get a rock that's big enough without having to do all kinds of funny stack jobs and build stuff that's not sturdy. So smaller pond, smaller shelf, smaller rock. Bigger pond, bigger shelves, bigger rock equals you're going to need a machine to do that. So hopefully those are some things that will help you if you're doing one of these on your own to get a good result. Alrighty folks, end of day 3. We finally got this time-consuming piece in. Turned out really nice, rock solid. We still have some cuts here we're gonna have to hide. I'll show you how we're gonna do that later. Right in here, fish cave. We pinched liner up against there. There's an aluminum plate on the back there, and we just did a little bit of rock work up there so the liner will never fall down. It shouldn't settle or anything, but it's really important that that liner edge doesn't move, because water height is only like 3 inches below here. That's not a lot of room. We don't want that liner to be moving. That's one of the reasons I poured a clean stone pad when I set this thing, because that's not gonna settle. That's gonna stay right there. And we rock that up against that. I might run a bead of foam up there, not to waterproof it or anything, but to just lock that liner in place so I don't get a low edge. That's one of the things, if you do these, you bring them up against a patio, or if you do these plates, I'd like to keep my water level as high as I can, because that's cool. I mean, I don't want 6 inches of gap here. I want to bring it up here. But when you do that, you get real close to the edge of your liner, and you want to be careful. But this should work, and the pond is rocked in, graveled in, Deej tucked in some lights. Got one underneath there, shining out. That'll be really cool. We got them hidden in here a couple places. There's one, there's one. When we do lights, we try to recess them, tuck them underneath. You want to see the light, but you don't want to see the light. You know what I mean? Get that, Deej?
You want to see the light, but not the fixture.
You want to see the light, but not the light. I like that better. So that's why we tuck them in places like here. That'll shine out here. You'll see the beam, but you're not going to see where it's coming from. And that's good lighting. Then later on today, we did all the excavation down here. This is all going to be patio all the way out there, a little walkway. It's not going to be a huge space, but it'll be pretty cool. So we did all the excavation there. We're not doing the patio. He has a hardscaper. The homeowner has a hardscaper that's doing that, but we did the excavation. Tomorrow, we're going to move up in here. Hopefully there's supposed to be a load of really cool mossy sandstone boulders coming to the shop today. I want to look at those, pick out some super cool stuff, and we're going to start building a stream tomorrow. You know, that's what we really like. We build ponds, well, because, well,
We have to.
you have to build ponds to build a waterfall. You know what I mean? And there's some artistry in it, but what Deej and I really like to do is build those waterfalls, and that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So, see you guys in the morning. Okay, so Deej and I just set our spillway rock in here. And I'm gonna talk about when you set your spillway rock, your weir rock, what determines water level behind that. There's a couple things to think about. And so right here we have our 2 framing boulders. That's normally, when you build waterfalls, what you do first. You'll put a framing boulder here, and then create a waterfall. And what I see a lot of people doing is, okay, here's the framing boulders, we need a waterfall. Where should the waterfall be? Right here, right, Deej?
Yeah.
That's oftentimes what you see. What happens then, you get this beautiful sheet waterfalls out here, which is fine, except I struggle with that looking naturalistic, because the waterfalls should not be the farthest out point. That's not how nature works. I mean, sure, maybe 2 million years ago it was here, but it's 2
million.
a long time ago. This was before we built it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but then what water does, it'll eat back. This was all one stone ledge at one time, and it eats its way back through there. And so we're setting our waterfall back here because this was all one rock at one time. It makes sense that it would be recessed. One thing you have to be careful when you do that is that you don't build a really cool waterfall that you can't see. That's something you have to watch. So when we set these framing boulders, we're turning them carefully, standing back to where the main viewing point is, and looking to make sure that we can still recess our waterfall, put it back behind the framing boulders, and not hide it. We still want to be able to see it, but we want it back there. In this case where it's so visual, I kind of went in between the two, and I have water falling back here. It's just not really going to be a sheet falls, it's just going to gush down here. We have lots of water coming over this one. Normally I would have built it a little wider, but I built a waterfall instead that can handle a huge volume. I'm also going to have water coming over here and shooting out over here. And if you've watched our channel, that's one of the things I always try to do when I can, is get water going 2 different directions. So you can picture a sheet of water coming this way and a sheet of water coming that way. Whenever you can get sideways movement in a waterfall, that's cool. So not only am I going to have water coming over here and over here, but because of this little trench coming down here, if I take a hammer and chisel and I knock this out, I can also get a thread of water coming way out here. Not a lot of water, it's definitely not going to be the majority of it, but it's going to look cool to just have this little thread coming out way front here. Another thing I noticed about this rock that's really cool is how it eats back underneath here. So when we have water shooting out over here, you know what that's going to look like, Pete?
Nice cavern.
It's going to look really caverny. Let's go over and look at a waterfall over here that we built that same concept. Here again, we're setting our spillway rocks behind our framing boulders. It's not hiding the view. Because of this is a really unique rock. Because of this big chunk hanging out over here, we get a deep cavern look. It looks natural, it's recessed, and I can see it perfectly from wherever I stand. I'm not blocking vision, but you can see that it's been tubed back through here. That's what we want to recreate over there. You don't always get that deep cavern. That's just two rocks that worked out. But as a rule, you can always set your waterfalls back behind the framing boulders. That's a tip to making your waterfalls look good and natural. Okay, end of day 4. We should be all set to rock and roll tomorrow setting waterfall boulders. Today we did the excavation. It's not nearly going to be this wide, but whenever I build streams, I always over excavate so that I have room to place the boulders where I need to. And then I can fill dirt back in against the boulders. So I go big and wide, that way I can do what I want. But I'm thinking stream coming back here, maybe slight pool over in here, don't you think, Deej? Pool over here and then bringing it in. And then right here is a big 1,000 series or 3,000 series biofalls. So we're gonna have like a 28-inch waterfall here and coming out over here, right? Basically this framing boulder is gonna frame this falls, and then a falls coming out of her bulb, which is going to be up there. And then I'm thinking of tucking in a little spillway over here yet to get some visual from the walkway. Initially we're thinking of putting that spillway over here, but it's pointed into the woods. You're not really going to be able to see it. I'm thinking I'm probably going to end up moving that over here so that you can see it. That'll have plenty of visual there. So 3 waterfalls up against here, and that's it. It's a pretty long stream, but I wanted to use all my grade change up on here. So we have dramatic falls out of here, swift stream. The idea with this one, I think, was a swift, narrow stream, so not huge pool areas, which is a little bit unusual. We typically build large pool areas in our stream. It's gonna be cool. I'm still gonna put a little pool in over there because I just think that seems like a beach to me, doesn't it? It's right there by the walkway. It's the lowest point. Put some low, slow boulders in.
A beach.
Well, what do you call it?
A mountain pool.
A mountain pool. But like that's the spot for it because it's low. It's right beside the walkway. You can walk over there, and that's where you're gonna stand to look at this. Deej is being contrary. Anyways, we're gonna go home, or rather back to the shop. And Steve sent me pictures of a fresh load of boulders that came in just this morning. They're moss-covered sandstone ones, freshly plucked out of the woods right here locally. And Deej and I are gonna go drool over that and load them up for tomorrow, right?
Yup.
Yup.